Shalom WJC family. Time for our weekly Torah Talk. This week in synagogue, not only are we reading Parshat Terumah, it is also a Shabbat known as Shabbat-Shekalim, the first of four special maftir additional readings that are done on Shabbat in order to they're lined up before Purim and Passover to remind us that that season is starting and it's coming fast. In fact, the Shabbat is also Rosh Chodesh Adar, giving an extra bit of joy. We'll have 3 sifrei Torah out, one of the rare times that when Rosh Chodesh and Shabbat-Shekalim fall on Shabbat, and we take out 3 sifrei Torah. So it'll be a joyful Shabbat at the synagogue. I wanted to talk about this confluence of Terumah, though, and Shekalim. So Terumah, in this Parsha, we will be able to see, it says, Vadaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, God spoke to Moses saying, Daber el bnei Yisrael v'yachu li Terumah, speak to the children of Israel and tell them, take for me Terumah, which is like gifts, things raised up and dedicated to God. Me'et kol ish asher yidvenu libo, according to how each person's heart moves him. Tichu et Terumati, that's how you should take this Terumah, my Terumah. It's a very unusual passage in the Torah, right? God's not giving a mitzvah, a commandment, but in fact asking for nidivut, for voluntarism, yidvenu libo, give as the heart moves them. So that is this beautiful idea connected. What are they bringing this Terumah for? To give to the tabernacle. The idea that what we contribute to the tabernacle ultimately is makes it meaningful to us. And that's one principle we get about giving and tzedakah in these 2 portions that we're going to read. I'm going to mention a few more. One is that you want to give of your heart. You want to give willingly. You know, there's a command to give tzedakah. It is a mitzvah to give tzedakah, but the ideal of it is actually to give just because your heart is moved, and that's when it feels the best and creates the most meaning. And then ultimately the tabernacle will be built based on the meaning of the heart of the people. A beautiful idea for a house of God, for a place of worship. Lots to learn about our synagogue as well from that. It's why donations for all religious organizations really, but since we are a synagogue, are so important. It's not so much about dues as it is about being a contributing member. But then we run into a question. What are the things that people are supposed to bring? Gold and silver and copper, blue and purple and red and purple and crimson and fine linen, and goat's hair and ram skins dyed red, and tachash skins, which I think we usually translate as dolphins, which is probably not the kind of dolphins we think of today, and acacia wood, very valuable in the desert, oil for the light, and spices for anointing oil, and incense of aromatics, onyx stones, and stones, all the valuable semi-precious stones in the breastplate, and the ephod. It's a lot of wealth. What if you are a person who cannot afford to give gold and silver and valuable dyed fabrics and all these things to the making of the tabernacle? It seems like it's great, Rabbi, that we should contribute in order to feel that sense of connection. But what if we're not someone who can contribute like that? Don't we have a place in the synagogue? Don't we have a place among the Jewish people? And the answer is yes, of course, which is why it's so beautiful when Terumah and Shekalim come together. For the maftir passage, we're going to read from the beginning of Parshat Ki Tisa, the passage for Shekalim. It says, Vadaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Same opening. God spoke to Moses saying, Ki tisa et rosh bnei Yisrael lifkudehem, v'natnu ish kofer nafsho l'Adonai bifkod otam. God spoke to Moses saying, when you take the sum of the children of Israel, right, we're going to do a census according to their masses. When you amass them, then every person will give a ransom for their soul. Kofer nafsho, v'lo yeh bahem negef bifkod otam. That there will be no calamity among them when you count them. What should they give? What's this kofer nafsho, this ransom for their soul? Ze yitno kol ha'over al pkudehem mechatzita shekel b'shekel hakodesh. This is what everyone should pass over to the temple when they are being counted, a half shekel, according to the shekel of holiness, and then it gives the weights. A half shekel, a half a penny, basically. Right? So now we're not talking about collections for the tabernacle here. We're talking about the collection for counting each and every individual person. Right? And how do you count? The Torah seems to think it's bad luck to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We still have this mishigas about counting people. We if you're making a minyan, we have all these ways to not say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If we're a minyan, the quorum for services, because we don't want to count people even to this day. But what did people do? They bring an accounting for their soul. And what is that? Just a half a penny. A half a penny, Rabbi, for an accounting of my soul? That's what God thinks my soul is worth? A half a penny? That's terrible. Really? But what is accomplished by having everyone contribute a half a penny, which will also go to the tabernacle, to the functioning of the tabernacle, eventually to the Beit HaMidrash, the Beit HaMikdash, the temple in Jerusalem. What is accomplished? Everybody can afford a half shekel. This is not gold and silver. Everyone should be able to scrape together a half shekel, and therefore everyone can participate in this counting, and thus everyone has a place in the community. Now, this is a very powerful idea in Judaism, right? How do we count people? How do we say they have ransom for their soul? What makes a person worthwhile? How do we measure them? Not by how much they consume, not by how much they take. Right? We all know times when people are counted that way. The poverty level is this. The number of people who are on this or that kind of welfare program is that. But the Torah doesn't want to measure people by what they need. It wants to measure people by what they can give, by what they contribute. And the idea of shkalim is everybody can give something, a little something. But that idea that every little something is valuable as much as the person's measure of their life, right? We are put on this earth to do something is the message that's being sent. Every person has the dignity of being able to contribute, whether it's a half a penny or it's their activity or their presence or their good counsel. There's so many ways to contribute, and whether, whatever that might be. Often financial, but that is definitely not the only way to contribute to be part of the people. But the measure, what we're learning from this half a penny, is the measure is the dignity of production, right? The Torah is not a consumption-based society that it's building. It's a production-based society. It's that every person has the dignity of being a contributing member of this society. And that's what makes them count. That's what makes their soul worthwhile. That's what makes our souls worthwhile, is that God created us with a tafkid, with a task, that we have something that this world needs. And it may feel like, it's just a half a shekel. What good is that? What good am I? But no, everybody's contributions together, whatever it is, a half a shekel, a great talent, a minor talent, an ability to show up when others can't, an ability to be there for someone, the ability to give a smile or a handshake or praise. Whatever it is, we have what to produce, what to give to society, and shkalim tells us it's all worthwhile. And the idea that we're getting by having shkalim and truma together say both of these are necessary. We need people whose hearts are moved to give, and we also need to recognize that everybody's contribution is worthwhile, that everybody has something to add to this beautiful Jewish people, to this beautiful world that God created for us. And when we do that, and we make sure everyone counts, then not only do we have this beautiful community and all of its trappings, not only do we have the connection of giving from our hearts, we also have the connection of giving equally in some cases, of showing up together, of understanding that everyone has something to contribute. This community, just like the Torah prescribes, should be a production-based community. It's not about what we consume here from the temple, from the synagogue, that makes it worthwhile. It's what we give. It's what we contribute. It's what makes us love. It's what we give. It's what we contribute. It's not what we get. And I hope that we have a Shabbat full of love, full of our knowing that we matter, that we count, whatever our contribution is, and that we have the dignity of being worthwhile because God has a task for me and for you. And I invite you to come to talk to me more about what your tafkid might be. If you're not feeling it, what's my contribution? That's a trip I'm more than happy to take with you. And I hope you'll come, and your very presence will be a great gift to our community when you show up here to join us in prayer or activity or in celebration. Wish you Shabbat Shalom.